My husband was keeping a secret from me, and then one day, I had always trusted Daniel. We had been married for 6 years, and in that time, I believed I knew everything about him, his habits, his dreams, the way he liked his coffee. We shared everything. Or so I thought. It started as a feeling, something small. He became different. Not distant in the way most men become when they're cheating. No, this was something else. He was still attentive, still affectionate. But there was a weight behind his eyes, a tension in his shoulders, like he was carrying something too heavy for one person. Then the little things began. He stopped talking about his childhood, which was strange because Daniel loved reminiscing. If I asked about his parents, he would change the subject. One night, I caught him staring at an old photo in his wallet, one I had never seen before. When I asked about it, he quickly tucked it away and smiled. Just an old memory, he said. But the biggest red flag? The nightmares. Daniel had always been a deep sleeper, but suddenly, he started waking up drenched in sweat, gasping for air. Sometimes he would whisper things in his sleep, things that didn't make sense. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. Please don't go down there. I would shake him awake, and he would hold me tightly, as if he was afraid I would disappear. I told myself it was just stress, that it would pass. Then one day, I found something. Daniel was at work. I was cleaning out our storage closet when I saw an old wooden box tucked at the back of the top shelf. It was locked, and that alone was strange. Daniel never kept things locked. Curiosity got the better of me. I searched through his things until I found a small key buried inside his sock drawer. My hands trembled as I unlocked the box and opened it. Inside, there were stacks of old newspaper clippings, neatly folded. The first one I picked up had a headline that made my blood run cold. Missing boy still not found. Family desperate for answers. I frowned. What was this? I picked up another. Case closed. Police declare missing child presumed dead. And then I saw the picture. A young boy, around 10 years old. Dark hair. Green eyes. A small, uncertain smile. I stared at the face for a long time before realization slammed into me like a brick wall. He looked just like Daniel. I felt dizzy. My heart pounded so hard, I thought it would burst. I reached for another paper, hands shaking. This one had a smaller headline. Local family devastated after son goes missing. Playmate last to see him alive. The article described how a young boy, Matthew Carter, had vanished while playing with his best friend. His friend, whose name had been withheld, was the last person to see him before he disappeared. I dropped the paper like it had burned me. No, it couldn't be. Daniel walked in at that moment. He saw the papers scattered on the floor, the open box in my lap. And for the first time in our marriage, I saw real fear in his eyes. Emma, he whispered. I can explain. I couldn't breathe. Who are you? I asked. Silence. Then, in the quietest voice, he said, I was the last person to see Matthew alive. And I know what happened to him. The room spun. The man I married, the man I thought I knew, had been keeping a terrible secret. And now, I wasn't sure I wanted to know the truth. Daniel stood frozen in the doorway, his face pale as he looked at the scattered newspapers in front of me. Emma, he whispered, you weren't supposed to find that. My skin prickled. You were the last person to see Matthew Carter alive. My voice was barely a whisper. He swallowed hard. Yes. Silence stretched between us. Then, slowly, I stood up. What happened to him, Daniel? His lips parted, but no words came out. His breathing was uneven, his hands trembling. Then, finally, he exhaled. I killed him. The room went deathly quiet. I took a step back. The world tilted. It was an accident, he continued, his voice shaking. We were just kids. We were playing by the lake, and he fell, Emma. He hit his head. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't move. Couldn't think. My father found me, Daniel whispered. He told me to go home. He said he'd take care of it. And he did. His voice cracked. They never found the body because he buried it. A chill ran through me. I wanted to forget, he said. And for a long time I did. But it's been coming back. the dreams, the guilt. And now you know. Tears blurred my vision. I had married a man with a body buried in his past. And the worst part? I had no idea what I was supposed to do next. Daniel looked at me, his eyes filled with something I couldn't quite name. Fear, regret, maybe even hope. Say something, Emma, he whispered. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. The weight of his confession sat heavy in my chest, pressing down until it hurt. I had loved this man for 6 years. I had trusted him. And now I didn't know who he was. Slowly, I reached down and picked up the newspaper clipping with Matthew Carter's face staring back at me. Does his family know? I asked softly. Daniel swallowed hard. No. I nodded, my fingers tightening around the paper. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The silence stretched, thick with everything that couldn't be unsaid. Then, finally, I looked up at him. Then we tell them. His eyes widened. Emma? No more secrets, Daniel. I said, my voice steady. Not anymore. His shoulders sagged, and for the first time, I saw something shift in his expression. Relief, maybe. Or resignation. He exhaled shakily and nodded. Okay. I didn't know what would happen next. If they would forgive him. If I could ever truly forgive him. But I knew one thing for sure. The truth was finally coming out. Thank you for joining us today on Golden Tales by Nia. Like, subscribe, and share for more stories like this.